Hey you guys, this is Sandra Cohn. So I'm just popping on here today real quick to answer a couple of questions that I received in an email recently. So the first one was someone writing in asking about how I handle burnout. So burnout is something that a lot of photographers talk about. I've certainly felt it in my career and I've struggled with it. And so I want to talk to you about that today. And it kind of goes hand in hand with another subject that I've been wanting to talk about for a while and that I get asked all the time, which is why I shoot film. Now, I know that those seem like two really different subjects, but they're actually not. So the reason I started film, coming back to film, the reason I went back to shooting film for myself personally and in my professional work was because I was so burnt out. So my story is I've been a professional photographer for a really long time. This is actually my 18th year of business as of this recording. I'm recording this in 2018. I started around 1999-2000, so that was a long time ago. So I started out shooting film, and when digital came along, I did what a lot of photographers did at that time, which was make the switch. I thought that film was dead and that if I was going to stay relevant and I was going to keep my business that I had worked for so long and for so hard, I was going to have to learn to shoot digital photography. So I switched over to digital photography around 2006, 2007. It was right about the time where my twins were born. And I went head in. I just did it. I got rid of most of my film gear. I went exclusively to shooting digital in the studio and in my personal life. And right away, a couple things happened. First of all, I noticed that it took a lot more work to get my images to look the way that they used to when I was shooting film. So now I know that's because a digital sensor reads light very differently than a roll of film stock does in film emulsion. And especially this was really true back in 2006 when the first consumer grade digital cameras were really hitting the market. And so because of that, because they looked so different, I was spending a tremendous amount of time in post-production trying to get my images to look the way that they had used to look when I was shooting film. It took forever. I did this for about 5 years and I really gave it a college try. But what happened was over that 5 years, I burnt myself out. I was spending so much time per session working. I was coming in, I was working with the family, I was doing the session, and then I would spend hours culling and editing and then sending those files off to my people. And I really hated that process. I had become a photographer to be a photographer. I love photography, but what I don't love and what I never loved was sitting in front of a computer and doing tons of work. And so right away, digital was a bad fit for me. So in 2011, 2012, I decided to make the switch back to film. And really, the main reason was just to photograph my own kids. I have 2 boys, I have twins. And what had happened was, because I was so burnt out at work with the digital photography, I had stopped photographing my own children because the last thing I wanted to do was sit in front of the computer and edit when I had free time. I just didn't want to do it. So I started photographing my own kids with film in around 2011 and just instantly fell back in love with the medium. It was just so fun and so joyful, and I was excited to pick up my camera. And when my film scans would come back from the lab, I couldn't wait to open them and look at what I'd shot and look at my images. And so right away I knew, listen, if I'm feeling this much joy and I am inspired this much shooting film for myself and for my family, I need to bring that joy into my business. If I'm going to make my business, be sustainable for the long term, I need to love what I'm doing. And so that's why I decided to bring film back into my business. So for those of you who don't know me, we're just meeting here on YouTube for the first time, I am a studio photographer in Seattle, Washington. I work with newborns and families, and I do classic portraiture. And now, at this point, I do it all on film. I shoot film exclusively 100% in my studio, and honestly, I have never been happier. I love it. I'm obsessed with film. I feel like it changed my career and brought joy back into my work. So that was a really long answer, but you know, when I got that email from this woman saying, I'm so burnt out, I have little kids at home, I just don't know if I can do that, that email really resonated with me because that was my story too. And I cured that burnout by learning how to shoot film. One more thing I want to say to that point is that whenever I start talking about film and that I shoot film, I hear from people all the time who are maybe interested, but you know, they have a lot of concerns, like film is expensive. I hear all the time, I don't shoot weddings, so you know, I don't know if film's for me. Film's gotten really big in the wedding industry, and so there's that concern with people. But what I want to say is, whoever you are, whatever you shoot, whatever you do, whatever you're passionate about, film is for you. Film is for absolutely everybody. I'm not even kidding. If you are a mom or dad and you just want to take pictures of your kids at the park and you don't want to spend hours, you know, culling and editing, you just want to shoot it in camera the way the Lord intended, send it off to a lab and get scans back, film is for you. If you are a professional photographer, if you shoot weddings or portraits or food or events, or whatever it is that you do, guess what? Film is for you too. Same thing. You can just shoot it in camera, send it to a great lab, get it back, and have beautiful images. It's so liberating. You guys, even my children shoot film. They're 11. If they can do it, you can do it. All right? So listen, if any of this resonated with you, I just want you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be using this channel to share a lot of videos about film and portrait photography. I'm going to get into the nitty-gritties of how to shoot film, understanding light, understanding exposure, understanding film stocks, understanding labs and lab relations and scans and how to get a perfect scan. All of that is planned and all of that is coming. So be sure you hit that subscribe button so that you know when those videos come out. And thank you for being on this journey with me. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.